Hey everyone, my name is Tyler Edwards. Thanks so much for dropping by. So the frame that you're looking at right now is being lit with 3 different lights. Now the first light is throwing onto this back wall over here. It's got a little bit of a pattern in it, and it's kind of mimicking maybe a window light or something. And that's kind of helping to motivate this key light. And this key light is giving me a nice soft light source, but it's giving me a little bit of shape and dimension to my face by giving some contrast and all that good stuff. Now, the third light is this light right here. It's a practical light. Now, a practical light is a light that is physically inside of the frame, and it can serve many purposes. Well, practical lights have a ton of uses. Now, in this example, this practical is giving me a little bit of an edge right here on my shoulder and on my face to kind of separate me from the background. But a practical light can also be used as a motivating light for a key light. Now, I just mentioned this light that's throwing on this back wall is kind of acting as a motivating light for this key light. Well, practicals can do the same thing. If you have a lamp fixture maybe next to a talent, you can utilize that as the motivating light for a key light. And additionally, a practical light can be used just to add color contrast to a scene, or maybe even just add a little bit more depth or dimension to a scene. Maybe you have it in a back corner of a room, and without that light turned on, it just kind of falls off into darkness. But when you turn that practical on, it adds just a little bit of more kind of texture and visual interest to the overall scene. Now, sometimes practicals can kind of be challenging to work around, and to get the shot that you're looking, you may have to gel your other lights to kind of get that practical look in the way you want. But gone are those days, because now you have the ability to change all that on the practical itself with the Aputure Accent B7c bulb. Now, this is not your everyday LED light. This is a fully dimmable RGB WW light capable of a CCT range of 2000 Kelvin all the way up to 10,000 Kelvin, and actually utilizes the same LED technology found in the Nova P300C. And it can be powered via AC power or DC power with its built-in battery. Now, the light itself ships in this box right here and has this cutout foam for the light to sit in, and I actually just use this to keep the light in and store it in when I'm not using it. And also in this box right here has a little carrying bag to use for transport or whatever the case may be, but honestly, I just use this for transport because it's nice and durable. Now, as I mentioned, it uses the same LED technology found in the Nova P300C, which, like I said, gives a wide CCT range, but it also gives very accurate color reproduction. Now, this light has a CRI and TLCI rating of 95+, and a tungsten SSI rating of 85, which is better than most cinema lights out there. So that's going to give you very accurate skin tones as well as color reproduction. So with that being said, let's go ahead and look at the physical design of this light. So the B7C has an E26/E27 socket, which is probably the most common socket out there in the world. So all of your lamp fixtures, like the lamp fixture behind me, is going to accept this light no problem. Now, when compared to just your standard light bulb that you'd get for your lamps and all that kind of stuff, it's definitely bigger and bulkier and heavier, but there are reasons for that. So a notable difference between this and a standard light bulb is this aluminum chassis. Now, this aluminum chassis has a purpose, and it's actually serving as a heat sink for this light. Now, the reason why it's being utilized as a heat sink is because there's no internal fan in this unit. It's all passively cooled. And the benefit there is because it doesn't have any fan noise because there's no fan. So now there are other lights that are, inside of a studio or on a film set or something that may have fans in them. But for practicals, this practical may be right next to a talent. And if that practical is being used maybe as a motivating light for a key light or something like that, and dialogue is involved, well, if there's fan noise coming, if there's a fan in here and there's noise coming from that fan, any kind of boom mic or anything like that may be able to pick up that noise. So the fact that this thing is passively cooled and doesn't have a fan in it means that you're not going to run into any of those issues with fan noise. Now, when we look at the top of this bulb, it kind of looks like a donut or something like that. Now, there's a term for this called toroidal diffusion. Now, the design of this is intentional, and it serves a couple of purposes. Firstly, if this light is upright, and say in a lamp fixture or something like that, behind a lampshade, and it's sitting upright, this toroidal diffusion actually allows heat to dissipate coming from the top as heat rises to help keep the light cool. Now, the other thing what it does is it helps create a more even dispersion of light and more output of light throughout the entire fixture. Now, looking down the barrel of it, it looks kind of funny right now, but as soon as you turn the light on, it pretty much disappears and it just looks like a standard old practical bulb. Now moving on to the side of this unit, you have 3 buttons. You have a power button that's in the middle, and that's to turn the light on and off. And also, if you double click the power button, you can navigate through 6 preset color temperatures that have been programmed into the light, ranging from 2000 Kelvin up to 6500 Kelvin. On either side of the power button, you have a plus and minus button, which helps you change the intensity of the light from 10% all the way up to 100% in 10% increments. Now, as I mentioned before, this light can be powered via AC or DC power. Now, in DC power mode, it's powered by an internal battery, which at full output, you can get up to 70 minutes of runtime before the light dies. And then if you dim the light down, obviously, you're gonna extend that battery life even more. And then when you're in AC power mode, this light works just like any other light bulb out there. When you turn the power on, turn the light switch on, it turns on. When you turn the light switch off, it turns off. So when you want to change power modes, either from AC to DC or DC to AC, it's really easy. All you do is you press all 3 of these buttons at once, and then the light will turn green for a second and either dim up or dim down, depending on which mode you're moving to. Now, a good way to check whether you're in AC mode or DC mode is just to hold the power button down for 3 seconds. And what it'll do is if you're in AC mode, it'll flash 3 times green. If you're in DC mode, the light will just turn on. Now, it is amazing that you can have some basic control functions of the light just on the light itself with these buttons, but the real power is being able to control this light with your phone using the Sidus Link app. Now, I'm going to swap out the bulb that's in the fixture right now with the B7c to kind of show you the power of using the Sidus Link app with this bulb. Okay, I've got the bulb switched out. Now I'm going to show you just a few things with the Sidus Link app to kind of show you the power of being able to utilize this light on set along with the Sidus Link app. So number one, maybe this light is a little bit too warm, so I'm going to just change it to, let's say 4000 Kelvin. Okay, that looks a little bit better. It doesn't look too intense. And maybe I want to bring the intensity down to maybe 20%. Okay, that looks pretty good. Still got a nice edge light here and a little bit of a scratch on my face, but it's nothing overbearing. Now that's all in good, but that's just changing the CCT. That's nothing too exciting, but you also have the ability to change the source type. Maybe you want to change it to moonlight, changes the color temperature to something like 8000 Kelvin, and then you can fine tune it there by changing the CCT range, adding or subtracting some color temperature there, and then as well you can change the intensity of the light. Or if we want, we can change it over to something like a warm halogen bulb. Now, source type is cool. It has a lot of presets in there that you typically find on a film set or in an office building or whatever the case may be that you may run into. But you also have this ability to use something called source match, which uses the camera on your phone through the app, and you point it at any source that you want to, and it'll match the color source, the color temperature of that source. So right here, I've got my key light right here. We've got it some unbleached muslin, and it's saying it's at 4700 Kelvin. So we'll click match, and instantly it changes the light to 4700 Kelvin. But it doesn't stop there. You can also just use gels. So say we go to a daylight setting and we can set it up to full CTO, for example. So it changes the color temperature to full CTO. Or if we want to start out from a tungsten source, maybe we want to go to a full CTB, color temperature blue, it'll add the gels just like that. But being an RGB WW light, you aren't just limited to correlated color temperature, CCT, from 2000 Kelvin to 10,000 Kelvin. You can also really pick any color you want. So if I wanted to go to blue, all I do is just go on the scroll wheel and change it over to blue. I may even go to pink or green, yellow, whatever the case may be, and change it just like that using the scroll wheel. Or you can use some preset colors right here. And again, if I wanted to go to blue, make this really nice deep blue. Additionally, this has some really cool effects like the fire effect that you can change the frequency to make it maybe look like a candle or something like that's behind you. And again, you can change the intensity of this, and you have 3 selections with this because it's RGB WW. You can go warmer, which gives you like a nice warm kind of candle feel. Neutral, which is a little bit lighter, and then cooler. So you have all these different options and flexibility. Now, probably the most practical effect, no pun intended, for this is faulty bulb, which it makes the bulb look faulty. And you have the ability to change the color temperature of the light, so maybe make it blue or whatever the case may be. You can set it that, and it acts like a faulty bulb, and it's actually a bulb, so it's pretty stinking realistic. Now that just scratches the surface of the Sidus Link app. There's so much more in depth with the Sidus Link app, but that just shows you the power of being able to connect your light to your phone, which is just mind-blowing. And the cool thing is with Sidus Link, it uses a Bluetooth mesh network. So if you have other lights in the Aputure ecosystem, such as the Nova P300C and the Aputure 300D Mark II and maybe the Aputure MCs 300, whatever the case may be, those start to create a mesh network. This really helps on set. If you have a big set, your lights can start to talk to each other, and it kind of extends your range of your phone from being away from your farthest light, because each of those lights start talking to each other and creates a network. And if your phone dies or something like that, the light itself isn't connected to the phone, it's connected to the account. So you can just log into another tablet or another phone, log into your account, and then you have access to your lights all there, and they haven't like turned off or anything like that. Now, to wrap this all up, I think this light is probably the most exciting light that Aputure has released, at least so far. And I have a lot of Aputure lights. I'm a huge fan of the Aputure lights and the ecosystem that they've built. But this light in particular is just so exciting because there's so many creative possibilities that you have with this light, and you're not just limited. You don't have to work around a practical anymore to get the look that you want. You can change the practical the way you want it to look, and you can change the output, the color temperature, all that kind of good stuff. And it's so seamless, and it integrates so well with all of the other lights in their ecosystem. Being able to just fine tune the color temperature of a practical, say for you're using it as a motivating light for your key light, you have so much control to be able to fine tune that color temperature the way you want to help influence the scene or make the scene however you want it to look. Now, as for price, $70 US seems like a lot of money for a light bulb, but you got to remember that this isn't just a light bulb that you plug into just all your lights in your household. This is really made for cinema lighting or for set lighting. Now, it can be used for all those different things, but for me personally, I use this specifically for filmmaking or photography or whatever the case may be. And for $70, you now have the power and the ability to light a scene the way you want, and not necessarily have to light around a practical. You have the ability to change that practical's color temperature and output any way you want, straight from your phone or even from the fixture itself. And this gives you so many more creative possibilities of lighting your sets, whether you're using the practical as a motivating light for your scene, or just using the practical as an accent light in your scene. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up. I've rambled enough. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this helpful, useful, or anything like that, definitely let me know down in the comments below. Hit that thumbs up button, all that good stuff. I'll leave a link to the light down in the description below if you want to check it out. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.